Good morning, Mr. Wiley. Good morning, ma'am. Last week, Mr. Julian asked you about the 4 convictions that you have in the last 10 years. Do you remember that? Yes, ma'am. And you talked about those convictions in detail, didn't you? Yes, ma'am. And if I accurately understood your explanation, you either didn't commit the crime, it wasn't that big of a crime anyway, or you had an excuse for doing it. Is that a fair characterization? No, ma'am. I accept the responsibility for everything I did, but you do run across some situations where you, are not innocent. All right, let's go through them, okay? Let me just back up. Each one, none of those were felony charges. All 4 of them, right? Yes. Yes, ma'am. All right. None of them were traffic tickets. None of them were misdemeanors. None of them were citations for some minor violation. They were all felonies. Yes, ma'am. And in each of those cases, you had a lawyer representing you. Isn't that correct? No, ma'am. Didn't the judge offer you a lawyer at every one of those cases? Some of them. I had went pro se. You went pro se? Yes, ma'am. But then later, you brought a lawyer in to help you. Is that correct? I mean, when you pro se anyway, they still going to have somebody right there with you, but you make your own decisions pro se. Okay. And you pled guilty to all 4 of those charges, right? Yes, ma'am. Trying to get home. I ain't trying to fight. You pled guilty in front of the judge and told the judge you committed the crime you were charged with. Did you not, sir? I mean, sir, you have to, ma'am. You want a yes? You want me to yes and yes? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to answer the question how I answer it, ma'am. You're not going to bully me. Do you understand where you are, sir? Yes, I am, but I understand that you like bullying me. You understand you're in a court of law, sir? Yes, ma'am. Okay. My question is, in each of those cases, did you stand in front of a judge and say that you had committed the crime you were charged with? Yes, ma'am. It's called trying to get back home as soon as possible. Okay. Another excuse. Is that it? No, it's facts. So let's talk about the July 2014 domestic battery. Yes, ma'am. Conviction. Mr. Julian asked you what happened there, and you said broke, being broke. When you're in poverty, people like your spouse drinks and you ain't you haven't got any money and there isn't any money. It's poverty. I see it now because I got a wife and married. We don't argue or none of that. So it was poverty. That was that. Your answer, right? Yes, ma'am. Have you ever been broke? Because if you haven't, you can't relate. Okay. But actually, your question you were asked, what happened? And what happened, sir, is that you broke that woman's jaw. Isn't that what happened? We got into a fight, man. We both was fighting each other. It takes 2 to tango. Sir, isn't it true that you struck that woman on the right and left sides of her face with closed fists, breaking her jaw? Excuse me, ma'am. This has nothing to do with Doug's case. This is an old case that I copped out for, pleaded to already, so I don't think should be allowed. You may proceed. Thank you. Sir, were you not charged with striking that woman about the right and left sides of her face? Yes, ma'am. With closed fists breaking her jaw? Yes, ma'am. That's what happened, right? Yes, ma'am. Okay, and in addition, you were charged with grabbing her around the throat with both your hands and applying pressure, obstructing her airway and impeding her breathing. Isn't that what you were charged with? Yes, ma'am. And that's what you did? And that's what you admitted to doing? Yep, in 2014. And you think that's okay to break a woman's jaw and strangle her because you don't have money? Is that what you're telling this jury? I didn't kill her. She's still alive. Oh, you didn't kill her. Thank you. She's still alive. Oh, okay. That's great. And you blamed her, didn't you? Your answer, no. Actually, I went to jail for it, ma'am, for 4 years, and I came out a better person, and I'm a business owner and things like that. That's what happened. Sir, to the answer to the question you were asked last week wasn't about poverty. It was about breaking a woman. What happened? You broke a woman's jaw and you strangled her due to poverty, due to being broke, due to not having an income, due to not having a job. It all relates. It all goes back to poverty up there the other day, ma'am. Y'all going to trip me up. Okay. And also you suggested she was drunk. Like your spouse drunk. Does she deserve it because she was drunk? A broken jaw and strangulation? Is that what you're saying? Ma'am, I did my time for the case. That's the final answer. I did my time for the case. And I accepted my responsibility in 2014. It's 2023. And I left it alone. And you could keep on all the time. But I'm going to tell you the same thing. You accepted responsibility by, yes, I did. I went to jail. I went to IDOC and did my time for it already. By blaming poverty? It doesn't matter what I did. I accepted my time and I left. Alright, let's talk about the August 2016 obstruction of justice. You told this jury you were asked what happened, and you said, the police came up to me when I got off the bus, like they got a call on me. You're a suspect. You fit the description. I took off on them. They tried to tase me. I took off running. So you're saying you got off a bus and they just tried to grab you because it fits some random description? Is that it? I fitted some description. It happens in the street. It happens. Alright. Okay. But that's not what happened here. Is it? Ma'am, I just told you. You're trying to trip me up. You're asking me the same question, but you saying it different ways. Could you ask the witness to please move a little bit away from the microphone? We're getting a lot of static. I think it's because he's right in the microphone. Yes, please, sir. Just a little bit farther back from the microphone. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Now, it's tough. I don't even need the mic. I could talk right out loud. Right around, yes. That would be great. Thank you. What actually happened is that you were at a place called Sandy's Motel. That's the bus station. The bus station in Decatur is Sandy's Motel. The bus drop off there, ma'am, yes. And you stole somebody's purse? No. Isn't that you? The officers came because a woman complained that you had stolen her purse. Isn't that right? I don't know nothing about that. I was on a Greyhound though. I got off the Greyhound. I don't know nothing about what you're talking about. I was on a Greyhound and I ran, and that's how I got my obstruction. Alright, sir. Would looking at the sworn statement of the police officer in that case refresh your recollection? Ma'am, I don't even want to look at it. It's in my past. Everything that's talking about is in the rear view. So you don't want to answer my question. It doesn't have nothing to do with Carlton Weekly. It doesn't. Oh, you're trying to badger me, but in the end, it's not going to help you with what you're trying to do, ma'am. It's not going to help you. I'm going to tell you that right now. We'll see about that, sir. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. When the police came, you gave your name as Martell Y. Wilson, not Wiley. Is that correct? Martell Y. Wilson? No. Again, we're looking at the sworn statement of the police officer. I mean, I know a cop that lied and wrote up statements on people, sent them to the joint. I mean, do we supposed to believe him? Okay, Watts. So then the woman gave him your real name, and that's when you ran? Isn't that right? No, ma'am. I told my story, ma'am. It's two sides to every story. They could write up the police report all they want to. I'm telling you the truth. Okay. I live with truth today. We'll see. We'll see. Because in addition to where was the purse, the reason you ran is you had a gun on you. Isn't that right? Yeah, I had a gun. That's why I ran. Okay. And you were a felon? Yes. And a felon is not allowed to have a gun in Illinois. Isn't that right? Nope. And that's was back then, so it don't count now. Okay. Felon in possession doesn't count now? Okay. But it doesn't count now. What you're talking about is irrelevant. You think a firearm is irrelevant, sir? No. Carrying a firearm is irrelevant? No. What you asked me is irrelevant. Like everything you asked me, like I did my time for. I told you that. It's irrelevant. Sir, do you know where the judge is sitting? The judge is sitting to my right. Do you understand that the judge decides what's relevant, not you? I mean, if the judge told me to stop talking to you, then I'll stop talking to you. But she didn't. I'm going to keep talking to you. All right. When you ran, you ran because you knew it was against the law to have a firearm. That's right. And again, I did my time, ma'am. I went to the joint for all of that. 2014. And my question, sir, did you have a gun on you when you ran? Didn't I say that? I said this 3 times. And you threw it. Is that right? You're trying to trip me up. Yes, I threw. I ran. Okay, so this was really a gun case, but you ended up with obstruction of justice because you threw the gun away? Isn't that right? Yes, ma'am. All right, let's talk about the drug case, the December 2019 drug case. You were asked about that case last week, and you said you took the case, that you were in the car with somebody in Bloomington, and they had kids, and you were told you were going to jail anyway, so you took the case. In other words, I was going to jail anyway. I was on parole, so I was going anyway for being around felons and all that. So I took the case. Yes, ma'am. Okay, and so far in a car, this is what you say happened. You're in a car, and the car is stopped, and drugs are found in the car. No drugs found in a car. The drugs they served somebody. They've been serving the police. They were serving the police, so the police was already on it. Okay, before I got in the car, they've been serving the police. But there was a woman or a man with kids in the car. It was a woman. A woman? Yes. And how old were her kids? I can't tell you how old they is. I'd be lying. They different ages. And they were going to charge her, and you said it's my drugs. Is that right? Yeah. I was going to the joint. Ain't no need for she to go to jail. Me go to jail. She can show her kids. I finna go there. So you were kind of the hero here. Yeah, just like today. I'm a hero. Okay, except of course, that isn't what happened in this case. Isn't it true that the charges in this case were that on November 26, 2019, you were involved in a delivery to a Bloomington Police Department Vice Unit confidential source of a substance purporting to be heroin? Isn't that what you were charged with? Like I said, ma'am, I was with them. So you guilty. You just as guilty as them. If they serve the police officers, both y'all going to jail. You can ask anybody. So I understand. You want this to be a story about you being a hero in a car with a woman with children. But that's not what you were charged with. That's not what you pled guilty to. No, you want me. You said hero. You said hero. That was your words. You weren't a hero? Yeah, that was your words. You brought up hero. Okay, but there wasn't even a car, sir. There wasn't a car, and there wasn't a woman with children in it that you had to save. What is you saying? Man, we got arrested, ma'am. It was a woman. I never said no children was in the car. I said she had children. Okay. I never said no children was in the car. You trying to put words in my mouth. Alright. So there was a car and a woman with children who was going to get charged. That's what this case was about? That's not what you were charged with at all. You were charged with selling heroin to a confidential informant, and then again on November 26th to a Bloomington police. I never sold the Bloomington police nothing. You never sold? I never sold them nothing. She sold them, and I took the weight, like I said, ma'am. I never sold them anything. She sold it to them, and I took the weight. So she sold them in the car she sold it? Yes, she sold it to them. However she sold it to them, she sold it to them. And they bust us down, the car down, and got us. And then you said, I sold it to you. And they said, okay, well, I'll take you, not her, even though they directly got it from her. Is that your story? They got it from her. We went to the police station. I told them it's mine. Everything's mine. They even ran the house. Everything's mine. Everything you all find is mine. I'm going back on parole. Okay, so that was actually a sale of drugs. Is that right? She served a police officer. Didn't I just say that, ma'am? I just said that. I understand. But you were charged and you stood in front of a judge and said you did this. Isn't that right? Yes, I did. I told you. That's taken away. I did it. Alright. And now you didn't do it, but a woman with 2 children did it. I take the weight. I got charged with it. It's mine. So I ain't trying to blame her nothing. This happened in 2016. I'm past that, ma'am. Next. They used someone. They sent someone in, a confidential source. Is that right on this? Ma'am, I can't recall the whole case. That's past me, okay. I done been shot in my head. All type of shit happened, ma'am. I don't know. I can't tell you specifically. I just know I take responsibility for it. Okay, but they said this was you know what it is to set up a drug deal with a confidential informant, right? Ma'am, I take responsibility for it. I take responsibility for it. So whatever you asking me, I take responsibility for it. Okay, haven't you sold before? I ain't sell no drugs. I never had no drug case. I never had a drug case before Bloomington. Alright, and what the Bloomington police did is they used a confidential informant so that they could survey the cell, right? Isn't that what happened? Ma'am, like I said, I went to jail for it. I don't know nothing else you're talking about. I went to jail for it. I was in Stateville. You went to jail for it. Yes. Is that right? But somebody else did it. Yes. I was on parole. I was going to jail anyway. You don't get it? Alright.